Hi, my name is Koku with blackfilm.com. I'm here with KJ Smith. She's the star of the hit BET TV show Sistas and is also on Power Book 3, Raising Canaan, and a bunch of other stuff that you guys have seen. Thank you so much, KJ, for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I really I got to get into Sisters and I was just cracking up. I mean, this show is I wasn't necessarily familiar at first, I have to be honest with you, but it's really good. And
Yeah, that's
it's
all
fun.
that matters. That is all that matters.
It
You
well,
were like,
I'm just
"I didn't see your show." I'm like, it's okay. You still have an opportunity.
it,
Let's go
it,
ahead and turn it
it is streaming on BET. It's there.
on together.
No, I was getting into it, and I'm all the way in season 4 right now, and I'm just like looking at all these things. Yeah, no, I'm watching, so I'm looking at all these things unfold, and I'm like, okay, so now y'all got me addicted to something else on TV. Thanks.
Good. Good. Glad to have you. Welcome.
I love it, but I want to start with just talking about because I have not seen a ton of interviews from you. So are you just very selective about interviewing? Like, how do you feel about that?
I stopped interviewing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It just had to deal with my own anxiety and
Mm,
interviewing can be an overwhelming process, and especially right now with like cancel culture and
mm-hmm.
all this stuff. It was just I was really anxious about it because I wasn't sure what to say. Could I be myself? Do people expect me to be my character? I just kind of, all of a sudden people knew who I was and people cared about what I said. So it took me some time to even feel comfortable interviewing. I'm not even gonna lie. So I,
Mm-hmm.
I started interviewing for a long, long time. I think my very first interview, I was just like completely myself, and I was just like
Mm-hmm.
blah 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 blah, and it was great. I had a fun time. I had a fantastic time. And then other people tell you, oh no, don't be yourself, and you need to, you have the powers that be that are like, oh, you need to be more this way instead of that way, and it just all
Mm-hmm.
got so complicated. So I just stopped.
Mm. Well, well, that's very honest. That's very honest. I saw some of your interviews, and I mean, I just think that's interesting that anybody would say those kinds of things to you because I don't think that you come up as somebody that like has to be like, oh my gosh, what's she gonna say next? I mean, that's just not your approach.
No, I mean, I try to be as transparent as possible. I try to be myself. I think
Hmm.
I think a lot of my ups and downs in this industry was because I was watching people who weren't their authentic self. I was following
Mm.
people and taking a blueprint from people who were not being their authentic self, and all of a sudden they became their authentic self, and it's like, it's Mayday. So
Hmm.
I had to really go to therapy and discover that, like, it's really the only way to be. And if people rock with you, they rock with you. If they don't, they
Hmm.
don't, and that's fine. And I'm not,
No, it's fair.
it's not, it doesn't change anything as long as it's not interfering with my art. Then I don't think
Hmm.
there's anything wrong with me being who I am. So.
Hmm. 100%. I'm glad that you brought up therapy. I think that's really important because I've also seen you talk about, you've had some challenges dealing with your own mental health and struggling with depression. But beyond just speaking about what you've had to deal with, you are out here talking to other people about their own mental health and their wellness. What makes you decide to give back in that way? Because it's not easy, just like you said, to maybe talk about yourself or some of the
Mhm.
vulnerabilities that we may have. But what is that
Mhm.
in you that drives you to want to help others that way? It's very powerful.
Well, I think recently is a very good example. Someone could appear to be, and I'm not going to say anyone's name, but we've lost a lot of people in the last week, a lot
Hmm.
of people,
Hmm.
due to suicide.
Hmm.
And, I have had my own thoughts in the past, and I've overcome them a few times. I've had some bouts with depression. And, if you're not careful, you will succumb to it.
Yeah.
So, I try to normalize it as much as possible so people can know that people who seem to have it all go through things as well. So it's like, we all are in this together. We're all in this soup bowl together, and
Hmm.
we are all just trying to make it. So, I try to, anyone who values my opinion, I try to let them know that, like, I have gone through this and we can go through this together. How can I help? How can I lend my support? Sometimes people just want to feel heard. Sometimes people just want to feel seen. Sometimes
Hmm.
people just need a redirection in their path. Sometimes people need to cut off toxic humans in their life.
Yeah.
Um, so I try to do my best because, I can't imagine if I would have ended my journey on this earth when I wanted to, I would have
Hmm.
never come to this place in life where
Mm-hmm.
I am honestly experiencing a bliss that I never knew was possible. So I
Oh.
try to encourage people to keep going, because it's not the end, until
Mm-hmm.
God calls you home, it's not the end. So
Mm-hmm.
keep going, and you have the opportunity to shift the direction of your life. Sometimes we get ourselves in our own mess, sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
like, I put myself here. If I'm being realistic about my own stories,
Yeah.
I put myself in this mess. Now, how do I get out of it? Do I want to stay here, or do I want to go? So
Mm-hmm. It's
it's
accountability. Mm-hmm.
important
Starts
to
there.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's important to me, and especially now, a lot of younger people follow me. I don't know how. I love it. They're sweet. I'm like, I have real grown content on TV. But they follow me, and they listen to me, and I just want these, young women to know that, like, any day your life can change. Any second, your whole entire life could change in a
Mm-hmm.
blink of a second. So
Mm-hmm.
just keep pushing.
And that brings me to my next point, because I know that you do well. You're from Tallahassee.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So I know,
Raised.
yeah, born and raised, right? So in the battle of, okay, let me ask you this question about Florida, because Florida has these cities that are so pronounced and they have their own identity. So what is the difference between like a Tallahassee, a Tampa, a Miami, or Orlando? Like, what's the flavor? What's the culture? Why are they different?
It's the culture is okay. So Tallahassee, I'll start with my city. Tallahassee is 15 minutes away from Georgia. So
Hmm.
we have a lot of southern down south influence. Because see, when people think of Tallahassee, when they think of Florida, they think the whole state is palm trees,
Yeah.
and that's not the case. We have moss and oak trees, and you know what I mean. Well, I don't even know if I've seen a palm tree in my city. So we are, we're 15 minutes away from Georgia. It's Thomasville, Savannah. We're 2.5 hours away from the beach. So it's a
Hmm.
landlocked city. Whereas people get the idea that you're like cruising in a Corvette with the top down and your glasses on. That's not my city.
Hmm.
Um, so it has its own very southern culture. My family is still on the plantation. It's Henry Hill Plantation is what it was, and we're still on the plantation. So it's
Wow.
really, really southern
Hmm.
roots.
Hmm.
Very, very, it's very, very important to my family. And then you go to a place like Miami, it's a lot of Caribbean, a lot of
Hmm.
island, influence, Haiti and Cuba, and like, it's just a lot. It's just a different influence. And then you go to Central Florida, it's a lot of Hispanic culture. It's a lot, it's just different.
Hmm.
It's very different. It's very different. So I take pride in where I'm from. I speak loud and proud about it, because where I'm from, they're not shooting music videos in Tallahassee. Rick Ross is not in Tallahassee. You know what I mean? So, I speak loud and proud about my city. I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the strides that we've taken to. It used to be a very closed-minded space.
Hmm.
It's a college town, but it used to be very, very racist.
Mm.
And I'm not saying it's not anymore. I'm just
Mhm.
saying there are strides that have been taken in the city. So yeah, I'm so proud of my city. I rep my city to the fullest. Every part of my city I rep to the
I
fullest.
see this.
Period. Because
So
oh, go ahead. I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna say, so what about in the battle of the colleges? Because it is a college town. Or where are we doing? Are we doing Florida State or FAMU?
No, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I went to both. I
Oh
went
yeah.
to Florida State and I went to FAMU. So I rep both. And people always like, you gotta pick one. No, I don't. No, I do not. I have been going, and because I'm from there, I'm more of both of those colleges than anybody who attended for 4 years.
Okay.
So when people like try to like press me about it, I'm like, bruh, I was in orange and green pom poms since I was since I was born, because my family is boosters at FAMU. And then I went to college at Florida State. I went to a high school, Florida State University High School. So it's like I'm not gonna choose. It's my city. Those are my colleges, and it is what it is. So I rep both. I
Oh,
rep the whole city. Whatever
I
happens,
love the way your hometown pride is crazy. Like it's nobody. You are
yes,
Miss. You are
real.
Tallahassee. I see this. But I was bringing up Florida because I wanted to talk about the initiative that you work on in Florida, and I wanted you to describe the Yes program. What is this exactly, and what are you doing? Mm.
Yes, is Youth Emerging Stronger. It's actually located in, well, the headquarters is in Los Angeles, and I
Mhm.
encountered them. The charity I work with in Florida is United Cerebral Palsy, because my father had cerebral palsy. So
Mhm.
United Cerebral Palsy is something I really hold dear, with people who have cerebral palsy, because I lived with someone who had that their entire
Mhm.
life. Um,
Mhm.
so but the Yes program is basically, it's for a specific demographic of youth who are homeless, who are battling with different things, abuse, etc. And it's very near and dear to my heart, because as cliche as it may sound, I really do believe the youth are the future. So if I could add value to anyone's life who is younger, I am changing the world. It's like the butterfly effect,
Mhm.
right? If I could tell one child that they're beautiful and they believe that and they take it to heart, and they're going to move in space like they're a beautiful person, and they are, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
They're going to move. If I tell them they're smart, they're going to move in space like they are a smart person, and they are. Whatever you believe is what you become. So for me, I try to pour into these children and let them know that, like, the things that I knew but I never acted on
Mhm.
until I was an adult, like
Mhm.
3
Mhm.
years ago adult. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
let me get to you early, because if I had actually practiced the things I'm telling you, then my life would have been very different. So if
Mhm.
I can just assist in your life changing for the better, I'm gonna do what I can. Even if it's, oh, you're cold, it's wintertime. Here, I got this, amazing jacket. You're gonna look fly in it. Like, it's simple things like that that can change the trajectory of somebody's life.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, yeah.
So
I love that about you. I mean, I always try to impress that upon people too. Like mentorship is so important. Just like you said, I mean, just giving someone a jacket or giving this, just listening to them. I mean, those types of things are pivotal moments to people. And it may just be something you're just doing, you're doing something that's out of the goodness of your heart or just something that makes sense. But that one moment can be so life changing. I mean, I have pivotal moments where an adult listened to me, as a child and really heard what I was trying to say, and that made all the difference. I think that's great. I really, yeah, I love that
exactly.
about you. Yeah,
I love that that resonates with you. We've all
yeah.
gone through that. So yeah.
Mhm. So let's talk about let's get back to the show, to Sisters. So let's talk about I want to talk about your character, Andy. First of all, the costume, this fly, everything is just I wish I could dress half as bad as that. Don't you love that?
I love it. I love it. Listen, I love Andy's wardrobe. I have literally tried to sneak away with it. I'm like, what? You tailored it to me. No one else can wear this. I can't. And they're like, no, you cannot take the clothes home. I'm like, online, like, okay.
Right, right. That's amazing. But like talking about her character, like she's really strong and she's making different decisions and she's gotten some really, really good gifts.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the show Sisters and the ensemble cast and how we're following this group of women and it's just
Mhm.
everybody's kind of got their things going on. There's a lot of drama, but
Yes.
I'm hooked in. I'm really reeled in. It's
I'm so happy. I love this season. I feel
Mhm.
like we're causing, I think Tyler did a really great thing, because we're causing a commotion with what's good and what's bad and what's
Mhm.
real and what's not. And people, saying, oh, I've been through this, or I know someone like this. And, it's really creating this commentary that, I personally never experienced. We
Yeah.
have a character on the show named Calvin, and he has certain preferences, but does that not make him a heterosexual man?
Right.
Um, we have a character on the show who she is dating, and she's allowed to date, but people are like, you need to choose, you need to pick
Mhm.
one, you need to make a decision. It's like, does she need to make a
That's it.
decision? Because she's dating. um,
Mhm.
we have, my character who she has this idea of what love is. It's
Mhm.
toxic, but on the surface level, it's like, yeah, this looks really good. A Rolls Royce. I mean, that's how a man is supposed to say, I'm sorry, right? And it's like, okay, it forces you to ask yourself these questions. Would I take a man back if he gave me a Rolls Royce? Would I take a man back if he It really does. And so, in doing that, my favorite discussion, my absolute
Mhm.
favorite is the storyline with Karen and Andy and Fatima,
Mhm.
because Karen and Andy have been friends since college. They've known each other for years. They're best friends. It's a best friend group, right? It's four
Mhm.
best friends. And, Karen and Andy are really close in that friend group. And then Fatima works with Andy. They've built a bond. And now Fatima and Andy are close, but then Karen and Fatima, there's a beef kind of, it's kind of like,
This happens in real
there's
life.
a
Mhm.
yeah, there's a
Mhm.
right,
Mhm.
right. I have
Mhm.
experienced this where I have two great friends who are great and I love them and I love them very much, but they don't get along. So
Yep.
then what are you left to do? What and then people are like, "Oh, Andy's not loyal," or people are like, "She's stuck in between a rock and a hard place." And
Mhm.
or some people are like, "Oh, she needs to stop being friends with this person so she could be friends with that person." And it's creating this really dynamic dialogue that's forcing us to really look at our friendships and our relationships. Me specifically, like
Mhm.
I have is playing this character has shifted my whole brain. Like,
That's really interesting. Yeah, I never think
yes,
about what acting can do when you play the character, like how it affects your real world. Mhm.
100%. Every time
Hmm.
I play a different role, I am widening my mind to a new perspective,
Mhm.
to a new, sometimes a whole new lifestyle, a
Mhm.
whole new, I was before I had a dime in the bank, I was playing a character who was the city commissioner of Atlanta. I didn't have
Mhm.
no money, but here I am playing a city commissioner of Atlanta. So that meant I lived in a certain house, I wore certain clothes, I behaved a certain way, and I was on set like, wow, one day I'll have these things, you know what I mean? Because it
Mhm.
opened my mind because I had never seen it. Um,
Mm.
so, my perspective every time I play a role, or most recently with raising Canaan, having the experience of living in New York and speaking to true New Yorkers who were around in that era. And
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, like my mind is constantly, downloading information. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm gonna constantly downloading more intel about observing life. The more I
Yeah.
can observe life, the better actor I can be. The more I can be open-minded and non-judgmental to different people's lifestyles, to different people's circumstances, the better actor I can be. So,
Mhm.
it's really cool that, people are like, oh, actors are fake. I'm like, I think actors are probably the most real people because we get to live in other people's shoes.
Mm.
Literally,
Mhm.
we get
Mhm.
to step in other people's shoes for a time, for a long time in some cases.
Mhm.
So, which other careers don't get to do that?
Yeah, that's an interesting statement. I never thought about it that way. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. And I did want to talk about Raising Canaan too, because it seems like with, like when you're hot, you're hot. I mean, how are you balancing, right? Like these two major series. It's not like you're talking about like just one-offs. These are two major roles in series. Like, I mean, how does that even work?
You know, I luckily for me, my history is such that I used to do a lot of smaller roles. I would do a bunch. Like
Hmm.
I would do like maybe in 3 months I would have like 10 jobs, right? So I would
Hmm.
have to be 10 different people in like 3 months, right? So that allowed me the practice for moments like this.
Okay.
Moments like this, when there are two major roles and two major series, I get to sit in it a little bit more. Instead of doing 10 jobs in 3 months, is
Hmm.
two big jobs in a year, right?
Hmm.
So I get to actually sit it in a little more. I get to do more research. I get to, meditate on it and write about it and write a backstory. So it's actually easier to do because I get to go talk to people like, oh, you've been in this relationship. Or when people find out I'm playing a certain character, they're
Hmm.
hitting me up in the DMs and I read it. People will tell you, they're like, I cannot believe you read it. I read my DMs. Okay? I read my DMs. I don't always respond because some people are inappropriate, but
Yeah,
I read
but you'll
my
read them.
DMs
Hmm.
because I never know that one person who's going to say, hey, you know what? Andy really resonated to me, and I'm going to tell you why. Because when
Hmm.
I was with a controlling person, this is what happened to me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I download that information. And now when I go act, I can have that story. I'm like, yeah, that's right. That is a real thing, a Stockholm syndrome. These are things that, women are
Mm-hmm.
experiencing in these abusive, but kind of not, they're society, like based on societal standards, they're acceptable, but
Yes.
still abusive nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So no, it makes it easier because I get the opportunity to and with Raising Canaan, I literally I had time before I shot. I went crazy. I called everyone I knew. I watched every documentary I could watch. I studied so much.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually an easier process because I get the time to sit with my characters a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's quite interesting. And earlier you said something about being recognized. What does it feel like now? I mean, like how normal is your life, I would say? Because like now, do you just, do you go to Ralph's and you just, go get your bread? Or are you just doing deliveries because you don't want to, people talking to you like,
Oh man. Oh, what a great question. What a great
because things sometimes
question.
have to change. There's places you probably shouldn't be because people will really know who you are.
Things have changed.
Yeah.
Things have changed. It was a while when it was like I couldn't in LA it wasn't a thing
Mhm.
because everyone's famous here, you
Yeah.
know. Um and it was only in it was like when I went back home, that's when it's
Yeah.
like everyone was like, "Oh, KJ, you're doing big things. So proud of you." Da, da, da. They showed me love. I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, y'all?" You
It
know.
feels good. It feels
And
good.
then it was like in Atlanta, then people were like, "Yo, you," and then they look up at the billboard. They're like, "Oh my," And then I started traveling to New York more, and
Mhm.
then I was organized in New York, and I'm like, we in Times Square in New York, and I'm like, whoa. So then being recognized there, and so it's gotten to the point where I'm being recognized and it's
Yeah.
exciting. But again, as I mentioned, there's a little bit of anxiety there
Yeah.
because, it's kind of like, I've been in the position where, I'm a petite person. I'm
Mhm.
6'6" in my mind, right? In my mind, I am 6'6", but in real life, I'm a petite person.
Mhm.
So, people feel like they can just pick me up and
Oh, yeah, it's overwhelming.
yeah, girl, you my girl. And I'm like, I love it, but it kind of puts me at risk sometimes. But I love it. Like, that's my favorite part. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like,
Yeah.
when they say it takes 10 years to be an overnight success, they were not lying. And I'm gonna milk it, okay? I am not a shy celeb. I'm not one of those
Mhm.
people like, no, don't take any. I don't want to be seen. I'm like, girl, call your mama. What's the sense? Like I'm just a high energy person. So I don't really trip. It doesn't make me nervous to experience someone who supports me and pours love into me. That makes me
Mhm.
excited. Sometimes, I'm not even kidding you, I'm more excited than them because I'm like, you recognize me? Oh, it's just a moment like, oh shoot, like you support me.
Yeah.
Show you love. Like it's just this
Yeah.
little exchange that, I get from my mom and my dad. Like they were just like these over the top, like happy go lucky, like lovers of people.
Mhm.
And of course, after I went through therapy and realized, I went through all the trauma, like the trauma removal,
Yeah.
then I'm able to be in a place where I can love on people
Mhm.
and not think from a place of fear.
Mhm.
I never that's something that helps me big time because if I move in fear, I'm paranoid. You can't live a life like that.
Yeah.
So like I said, when I didn't do those interviews, I was just like, I don't know what to say. My
Mhm.
classmates could tell you when we first did press for Sistas, I was sitting on the couch. Like if you go back and you look at all our old interviews, I was barely talking. I was
Mhm.
barely talking. It was my sisters who was talking because
Mhm.
I was just like not confident in that space.
Mhm.
But now I'm like, man, I'm gonna be who I am. Like it is what it is. Rock with me. Just support my art. Like you know.
And we do. We do.
Thank you. Thank
I
you so much.
I I cannot even begin to tell you how fun it has been to talk to you and just some of
Are
the
we
things that
done?
yeah. No, we ain't got to, I thought you had to pack. So I'm trying to help help you out so you don't miss your flight.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I'm
You know
like,
what I'm saying? I can't be
we got 2 more hours. Let's go.
almost. Call me from the car. No, stop.
This was really fun. Like,
It was
thank you so much.
no, I love that, and I know you don't do a lot of interviews, and just knowing that you were able to take this interview with me, I mean, that to me, it's an honor. Like it really
No,
makes me,
I love y'all.
yeah,
I love
no,
y'all at blackfilm.com because I'm gonna tell you what, in this business, when you're coming up, people don't really show you love. People don't, you know, grant you interviews. People don't want to interview you. People don't
mm,
care.
mm,
But blackfilm.com, I will say, has always supported me, even when it was a recurring guest star on Dynasty, and it wasn't
mm.
the lead of my own show, and it wasn't a new show on Stars, and when it wasn't a movie. I will say that blackfilm.com has supported me, and I appreciate that about platforms for us, because it's important that the up and coming actor get love too.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
important because this adds value, and then people are like, "Oh, who is this person?" I can't tell you how many times I've been recognized from an interview, or somebody's like, "Oh, I just saw your interview, and I wanted to call you in for this new movie. I wanted to call you in for
Oh,
this new show." Yeah, like, oh yeah, because they follow your platform, because you guys are the leaders in film knowledge. So it's like, yeah, they're gonna study your platform. They're gonna look at your platform, like, who's hot, who's the next person. So I really do want to show you guys some gratitude, because you guys have always shown me love, and that's really important for us artists starting out. So thank you
you,
so
KJ.
much.
No,
Me,
thank you. That was so incredibly sweet. Oh my goodness. Thank you. So
it's true.
before we go, because
Yes.
she does have to go. I mean, we could talk all day, but she really does. I just want to know what's next. Is there anything that you can talk about right now that you're working on, or is it hush
I
hush?
can't, unfortunately. No,
I was gonna try to sneak that in.
I know. I can't. Let me tell you, because I am a transparent, open little book. I want to share, like, oh, this is what's going on in my,
Right, right.
this is what's next. This is the next project I'm doing, but I can't, because I don't want to get fired.
Exactly. Oh
So
no.
word, but you definitely can. You guys can tune into Sistas season 4. It's this season is my
No, this
favorite.
is good. Yeah, it's
This
fun.
season is good. This is my favorite.
I'm
So
like
tune
shouting at
in.
the screen, like, girl.
And
It's
then, of
good.
course, Raising Kanan is coming out. I believe they said, I think this summer is
Mhm.
what they said online. I don't know. I don't
I'll
know.
add a blur when I figure it out.
Okay, yeah. Well, they
So we
said
get this
something.
right.
I don't know. I don't have proof or nothing of that, but it's coming out this year is what I do know. So
No,
you
it's
guys.
I love when I get to talk to somebody that's very highly likable and like that's really doing their thing and just like making it and doing it in Hollywood because it is a tough town. It's a tough business. So to
It's
see that for
not.
you and to see how you're just embracing it and still giving back to the community, being a mentor. I mean, it's like who else deserves it but you, you know?
Oh,
Mhm.
my goodness, thank
I'm just
you.
saying, you did it.
Oh my gosh, thank you very much. I
I
appreciate it.
love that for
It's
you.
good to be appreciated, for
She
real.
said all the things. I don't even have to wrap it up because you wrapped it up all nice and neat. I did all the shout outs, all the shows. But I encourage you all to check out KJ Smith. I mean, you already see some of the things that she's doing right now, but some of her past work as well. And I love because I saw on your resume that you've done so many shorts. So it's like, look, at the end of the day, you just got to keep working. And I think that's what
Yes.
people don't realize that the hardest workers are going it's going to get noticed. And like you said, 10 years to become overnight success. Now look at you. It's like she's just looking at roles.
Mhm. I
Everything's
mean, it's
happening at once.
true.
Mhm,
6 years of doing background work. That's what I tell all my mentees. I'm like,
mhm.
listen, it's and I say this also, and I'm gonna finish. I promise I'm gonna finish. But I always tell people, you could literally get discovered right off the plane, train, bus, whatever you come
Yeah.
or visit on. You could literally get discovered. In the event that you don't,
Mhm.
all you have to do is one thing that gets you one step closer to your dream every day. If
Mm,
you think about it like that, you won't get exhausted. You won't get burned out. You won't
mhm,
get jaded. And I'm not telling you what I think. I'm telling you what I know, because I did
mm,
all those things. I
mhm.
was 10 years ahead. Like, I deserve my own show. Baby, if I would have got my own show 10 years ago, I would have squandered it because I did not.
Isn't that interesting when you come to that realization? There are so many things I have wanted in life. If they would have happened in that moment, who the heck knows who I'd be or where I'd be? It would not have been the right time. 1,000%. I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that.
Yep. It's the truth.
So, once again, my name is
Girl, we're
Koku.
gonna be on here for 2 more hours.
I know.
Look,
I'm like, I'm trying to make a new Hollywood friend now because this girl is cool, you know. People, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to come by in this town. But my name is Koku with blackfilm.com. I'm here speaking with the lovely KJ Smith. She's very talented. She's very listen, it's not just Tallahassee. She said Tallahassee is her city. Ain't nobody gonna sit here and tell her otherwise because she's gonna come see you. And I'm glad I got to ask somebody about the difference between Florida State and family. I've been wondering, but you were like, listen, it's all me. It has been lovely talking to you, and I look forward to many more projects from you. And I will carry a lot of what you said today with me. I think it was very.
Thank you so much. It's
very important.
It is truly an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, KJ. I'm gonna put this up right away.
Okay, good.
Okay, girl. Have a good one. Great talking to you. If you want to see more content like this on blackfilm.com, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell.